My genuine ask of people for this video is just to hear out a few minutes of it before you get mad, regardless of what it is. I saw so many people with the previous video about Assassin's Creed Shadows click on it, like just read the thumbnail, assume I was mad about Yasuke being black, and being like, what a racist. And on the other side, I saw people assume that I didn't want Japanese characters in a Japanese game. What a racist. We are talking about the controversy around Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. At the time of recording this, Nate is here with me, not to be credentialist here, but he actually has a history degree. We're actually talking about some of the things around this character, some of the depictions around this character, and I think how we feel that it is a little early to be mad. If you're not interested in the game, that's fine. I don't think either of us cares.
No.
Like, we're not Ubisoft shills. I think we've enjoyed the Assassin's Creed games, but every time I've had a problem with them, or even their business practices, which I called out in my last video that people refuse to listen to, I will talk about that. And this game that has gotten no gameplay, nothing, because of all the historical baggage of like DEI and forced inclusivity and all this stuff in America, which has been a real thing in a lot of properties, a lot of people are angry ahead of time about this thing that we know almost nothing about just because it exists. And I'm just kind of like, let's hold on a minute. Doesn't mean you have to buy it. Maybe you just watch, 2 hours of it on YouTube and you're like, this sucks. But people are so mad right now and so accusatory towards other people who even just talk about this. We don't have enough historical evidence, in my opinion, to know whether this guy was a samurai or not. There's like 13 sentences, I believe, of primary sources, basically like 2 or 3 paragraphs of primary sources to go off of about this guy's history. And then there's mentions, secondary sources, all this stuff. We know he was a retainer. We know he existed. We don't know if he was a full-on samurai that ever put on armor and fought.
Well, and also I'd like to point out, I don't know if that really matters. But
Well,
it matters to some people.
To people who are angry, it does.
But I'm saying whether he was a full samurai or not a full samurai is not really part of the discussion, I think.
But it is, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because we're not taking a stance.
Right,
on that.
yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think there's enough information for you or me to go either way. But I've seen so many people mad.
Right, well, and it's also odd to me the route people have taken, too. I've seen videos on TikTok or whatever of, like, legitimate racism surrounding Yasuke,
Like making him
like making him like George Floyd,
or making him a monkey.
Like, I'm just gonna say, making him a monkey, whatever. I've seen legitimate like racist things. We're doing this based upon a cinematic trailer that we saw, and the part that's weird to me is people say, well, this is a game about feudal Japan, right? Taking place in like the 1500s in Japan. Why is there a black guy? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe because he existed.
Because there was a black guy there?
Like, we literally have historical evidence to say this. Even if he was the only black person in the entire country of Japan in that time period, we still have historical evidence to say that he existed. So, like, first of all, right off the bat, I'd like to say, what is the outrage about this? This guy is a person. He existed in real life. He's not a made-up character. I could 100% see the complaint if Ubisoft made up a character, like they totally from the ground up developed their own character.
Please don't try to come up with a Japanese name.
I'm not going to. And their character was a black guy as a samurai taking place in feudal Japan, and that was their own character. I could actually see the argument of people saying, well, wait a minute, why? Okay, fair enough. But the problem is, this is not a made-up character.
Even if he was, though, Nate, why was it okay before? Because here's my question. This has happened 100 times.
Right.
Like, I wanted to take a look at a couple examples. We're even going to look at examples from Assassin's Creed.
And I'm just saying, I could see the argument about it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But my problem is, like, how come Afro Samurai was cool? Why was that?
Right.
Why was that something that was neat? And I know immediately someone's going to say, well, because Afro Samurai didn't portray itself as real history. Right. I'm sorry, when Altair is holding the apple of Eden, this piece of Isu precursor technology from way in the past, I don't see Assassin's Creed ever calling itself real history. It's calling itself historical fiction and historical fantasy.
Yeah, it's believable stuff, but it's not real history.
Believable within the setting of
within
its
the
own
realm of that
world.
game. Yes.
And
right.
when I see, Ezio walking around with the apple in Brotherhood and brainwashing people into fighting each other, I don't see Assassin's Creed calling that real history.
Right.
So how come when they make up history all the damn time and make up characters all the time, some of which are very clearly characters that are fish out of water in that area, which we'll also talk about.
Yeah.
Why is it okay? Like, why is it okay when Afro Samurai ran in the late 90s and that was cool? Why was that fine? Why was it okay when Yasuke got his own TV series in 2021? Why was it cool when Chadwick Boseman was signing on to play the character before his passing? Why was it cool that Yasuke showed up as a character in samurai armor, by the way,
right,
in Neo? The thing that everybody, like, literally gives a reach around to, even though the history of Neo is wildly manipulated and entirely, that's the nicest way to say it, wildly manipulated to include a lot of things that never happened. Based off of a guy who, yes, did a lot of good for Japanese trade routes and did basically earn the title of samurai, and his version of, his story was fine. Like, you throw a white guy in there as a samurai, and that's cool. Like, whatever. Because, he was a real person. We know he became a samurai. Really? Did he fight, like, demons and all this random shit? No.
Right.
Like, they obviously made up their history.
Right.
Why is it that because it's Assassin's Creed now, we're angry? And I can tell you why it is. It's because people are mad about all the actual forced inclusivity of all kinds of other stuff. Like this character, all they have going for her is she's a boss bitch and that's it. Or like this character, all they have going for them is they're gay. Yes, there are a lot of characters like that. I think we've always talked about characters like that being stupid because there's nothing to the character. They're shallow. They're empty. They're just a shell. We don't know if that's what this is. When this comes out, if that's what it is, fine. We got one trailer. Like, why are we insulting each other, getting so mad?
And
like,
it's not even a
damn
gameplay
mind?
trailer.
No,
it's not even a gameplay. It's a CGI animated trailer. We know nothing about the game.
By the way, why is Naui invisible to people? Like, Naui is a Japanese woman who is a shinobi, who is made up character, but I believe, the daughter of an actual fictional or an actual historical person. Right. And she's like invisible to people, even though they say over and over again that she's basically the assassin. Like, they're like, she's the one in the shadows. She's the one crouching, hiding, moving around. And Yasuke is portrayed as the guy with a sword who's almost more of like an assassin. Kind of like an
Ivor.
Almost like an assassin ally.
Exactly.
Where like you wouldn't call Ivor an assassin.
No.
But she or he or whatever you want to call Ivor, or whatever you played as.
They're like a warrior character.
Who helped the assassin.
Right. Just play as Naui.
Yeah.
There you go. Fine. Fair enough. You got your Japanese character. It's an assassin, whatever.
I saw someone literally saying, well, why do I have to play as a girl?
You had to play as a girl as Evie Fry.
Well, I had the choice to play as Jacob. I can't believe I have to play.
There were missions that you had to play as Evie.
I know, and that's the thing is I want to throw that to you. There are so many examples of all the complaints I see from people. These things have happened before, and for some reason it was whatever then. That's what I don't understand. Like, even these things of like, I've seen people say, well, why aren't we playing as someone native to the land? You are, Naui.
Yep.
But he lived there.
He exists in that world.
Right.
He's part of it.
But I think people are saying, well, in every other one, I got to play as somebody who was native to that land, who actually belonged there.
But
and I'm like, you didn't. First off, weird. But secondly, you didn't. Like, for example, in Assassin's Creed Revelations, this is something I think you can speak to. You literally played as a white guy. Yeah. I mean, I know some people don't call Italians white, but I think the general understanding from the world is that they're white or white adjacent, who was saving people in the Ottoman Empire, who couldn't save themselves, by the way. Like, I'm not going to play the white savior card. It wouldn't matter if he was Native American. It wouldn't matter if he was black. It wouldn't matter if he was Japanese.
A Smurf.
He's somebody who came from another land to this place, obviously to find the keys and to, learn the history of Altair and the Piece of Eden and all this stuff. And he is there helping rebuild the Brotherhood on his way to retirement. The Ottoman Brotherhood was doing horrible. Like, they had basically lost most of the city to the Templars. There were Templar towers everywhere. You had to go around and basically do their job for them. You were saving them in their land. No one cared. Nobody was like, look at this why'd we bring this guy in to do this? It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see a difference with that? Because I'm actually genuinely...
Really.
What are your thoughts
It's no
on
different
that?
than like Edward Kenway, a Welsh dude, being in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different there. Yeah, there's a lot of characters in Assassin's Creed, both playable and non-playable characters, that don't belong in the world. I'm talking like they're not native to that land.
They came there from an external place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a thing.
Like, oh no, people can travel?
And
What
also,
happened?
Exactly. Like, this is how the world works. I guess for me, it's like, with Ezio and Revelations, I think a lot of people were so into Ezio in general that they were just willing to be like, yeah, whatever. And I don't think it mattered to people back then. Like, no one thought about it.
Mm-mm.
And do you want to know why no one thought about it? Because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, it literally doesn't matter. But then when it comes to this game, I think people have been so, especially in America, have been so dogged down with all the crap that's been shoved down our throats so much that they instantly see black character and they're like, ah! And it's like, it's so disingenuous to me. And then their arguments come across as so disingenuous too. All of a sudden they care about main characters traveling to different locations.
But they didn't.
That's all of a sudden a big deal to them. It's like, no, it's not a big deal to you. It's not at all. It never was a big deal.
It's that you're mad at all those things from before.
You're mad at all those things from before, and you've kind of hit like a breaking point now in your life.
Which I will actually say is understandable.
Which is understandable.
But like, you shouldn't be an
don't take it out
asshole
on
about
this.
it. And don't take it out on random people talking
exactly.
about it. That's weird.
And the other thing too is like, getting mad about Yasuke is so odd to me because, like I said before, if he was a totally made up character, I could see people's arguments for it. Like, what I could.
Like, you made up a black character to be
as a samurai in feudal Japan, and they made up a brand new story to it, everything, and there wasn't a play option, right? It was just, this is the character.
Yeah, you're finally getting your Assassin's Creed in Japan, but you are this guy who made up.
That's what I'm saying.
And he's not a Japanese person.
I could see the argument for people getting mad at that. I could. But the problem is, that's not this argument. People are just mad that he's a black guy, but it's like, look, the guy is a real character in real life. The bigger deal to me is less to do with his skin color and more to do with, because he's a real historical character, you should probably make the story somewhat believable.
Mm-hmm.
And actually line up with history. For example, in Assassin's Creed 3, if they had the Boston Massacre, but instead they're like, well, actually in our version, we're having the American colonists shoot the British soldiers. That's going to be it's like, no, that's just straight up wrong.
Right.
Assassin's Creed has always had their real historical events and characters actually line up with history, but they have their own twist to them.
And some of them don't, but
some of them don't,
a lot of
but
them do.
Most of them do. And that's my big concern with this, is since he is a real historical character, what little information we have about him should be actually real. If they said, well, actually he was born in Russia, it's like, okay, well, now all of a sudden you're wrong. Like, his character was not born in Russia.
And it would be different if you made him up, then you could say he was born wherever you want.
So like that is the bigger concern for me personally.
I have one concern.
I don't get why the other thing matters.
Well, I have two things to tell you. First off, I have one concern, which is I've seen a lot of people saying that he's gay in the game. Now, here's my thing with that. This was a real person.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people saying, like, because Ubisoft said, well, you can interact with and have relationships with different types of people. To me, this first off says this is an RPG again.
Yeah, right.
Which I never hated the RPGs. I don't really care. I just want to have both styles of game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of on the fence with that. Like, do you allow that player choice, which is fine. Whenever you make up a character, that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you allow player choice where it's like, well, Naui, maybe she wants to have a little, muff to muff action, and that's totally cool, and I'm definitely not going to screenshot it or mod the game to see it explicitly. But, like, that's fine because she's made up.
Yeah.
And there were gay people. Like, there's always been gay people. You go back thousands of years, there were gay people. They were just more in the minority than they are now.
Well,
so
even in Odyssey and Valhalla, you had the choice to be gay.
Because it was a made-up character.
Yep.
So that's my one concern is if it's with Naui, that's fine. If that's with Yasuke, I've seen zero historical evidence to support that he was ever anything other than straight
He's just a guy.
We don't know, and so I understand that, like, you could also say, well, you said there's not enough historical evidence to say he was a samurai. Well, why isn't that mean there's not enough historical evidence to say he liked wiener? I guess, but like at that point you're starting to give people credibility of saying it's forced.
Yeah,
because at that point now you not only pick the one black guy in Japan, you made him gay. Possibly. So that's my one concern with this that I did want to say. Like, I'm not blind to that. That's something that for me would be a very odd decision. And I understand that you have to prioritize player choice too, but I want your opinion on that, because I'm not really sure if that would be the way to do it when you're working with a real person. Like, if you play as George Washington in this universe, obviously the stuff around the Apple of Eden and the tyranny of King Washington, let's say he was a playable character, that would be made up, right? But it would be very odd to say he had an affair with a man.
Exactly. Yeah, that's totally you injecting your own opinion and changing history.
And that's not
about
saying
a real character.
But that's not saying it's weird because he's gay. I'm saying it's weird because you're changing the character to be what you want specifically.
Exactly.
Instead of taking vague terminology like knowing that he worked for, I believe the way to pronounce it is Nobunaga, and saying, okay, well, maybe he was a samurai, maybe he wasn't. But in our version, we kind of want to go with, we're leaning towards he was. Because historians do argue about this. I've seen people have different opinions. Where do you get them? Like the Smithsonian has a different opinion on this than some of the other historical archives I've looked at and websites that I've looked at. So people do argue this. It's not as simple as, well, the top voted comment from the guy with the anime profile pic said, no, he wasn't. So he wasn't.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Like, real historians who have actually studied this stuff have conflicting opinions on it. They don't have conflicting opinions on, did he like wiener?
Yeah.
So that, to me, is where this would be odd. Like an odd change.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it is. If you have something that's conflicted on, like the opinion of it is conflicted on, it's different to have that be a choice, a direction that you want to go. If we had some documentation that said, oh, well, he slept with this roommate guy.
Hey, you're talking about a president. Which president was this?
James Buchanan.
And he had a roommate.
He had a roommate, William Rufus King. He was the only bachelor president that a lot of people, and I'm kind of on the board where I think it is, a lot of people say, yeah, he was actually gay.
So if I made a movie about him where he was gay, would you be mad?
No, because there's an actual debate about it on whether he is or is not gay.
So if I made a video game about him where he wasn't gay, would you be mad?
No.
So if a video game existed where he was gay and a movie existed where he wasn't, would you be like, that one is woke, that one isn't, or that one is hateful, that one isn't?
No.
Or would you say these are debated, this is clearly this person's difference
they're
of
taking
opinion.
that direction on it. This person's taking this direction on it. That's fine.
Right.
We have no documentation to say if Yasuke was gay or not.
We have nothing at all. I mean,
it just
actually, there was documentation that he was with a woman, I believe, or secondary sources that implied that he liked women.
So if you take this direction, then now you're completely altering history, like to the point of a direction where it's just not even real.
And you're not altering it in the way of like we threw the Isu in with a golden sword.
You're taking a historical character and changing them
completely,
100% completely changing an aspect of their character, and that to me is why I find this argument so shallow and weird for people, because it's like, that's a bigger concern to me.
But nobody's talking about that.
I'd rather have my historical main character be historically accurate. Like, you can take your own liberties with the character, and that's fine. If this character goes to Tokyo, and we have no historical documentation to say that he ever went to Tokyo, that's a much different thing. Because now you're adding in little pieces here and there, than to entirely change his story and make him something that he was not.
Have you ever looked at Assassin's Creed as real history, though, like a history book?
I have.
I feel like I view it as like there's historical framework that's real, like the Codex writings from Sean. Those things are more based on reality than other things.
I've always viewed Assassin's Creed as something that I clearly know is fake, but it's something that I go into and I explore the historical worlds, characters, whatever, and the fake stuff that's been added to it has always felt believable to me. Like, I don't play Assassin's Creed 1 and I see the story with the Isu and stuff, and to me it's like, yeah, they do a good job mixing the fake and the real together, to the point when I play Assassin's Creed 1, I actually believe that, yeah, this happened. The Isu is here, we have the Apple of Eden, blah, blah, blah. Like, it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I going to go out of my way and say, no, the Isu exist in real life? No, because I recognize it's a video game.
Mm-hmm.
But within the video game, the historical accuracy of it makes sense.
But you're also not going to say that Connor met George Washington and that Connor, a Native American, saved the American Revolution, because you know that's fake, but within the framework of the game, it is believable in their world.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, it's believable in real history too. You know, that's the thing that I've always seen Assassin's Creed as, is I know it's fake, but they do such a good job with it that it actually feels believable. Mm-hmm. You know, it feels like Connor was at the Boston Tea Party.
That's why it's historical fantasy.
It feels like he is at the Boston Massacre. It feels like he was at the Battle of Bunker Hill. Like, I look at it and I go, yeah, I'm watching the Battle of Bunker Hill happen here with Connor. I know it's fake, but it feels real. Mm-hmm. You know, and part of that is because their historical facts that they have are correct. You know, in Assassin's Creed
Rogue, you have a great example
Assassin's Creed Rogue, there is an actual mission where you go to what would be Mount Vernon, George Washington's house, and you assassinate Lawrence Washington.
Right.
Who's George Washington's, what is he, half-brother, step-brother, something like that. And in real life, when you assassinate this guy, or sorry, okay, wow, let me backtrack there.
Whoa!
In real life,
buddy?
in real life, when this person dies, because he kind of dies unexpectedly, George Washington then gets Mount Vernon, basically. But in Assassin's Creed Rogue, how the story is you find out that it's because of Shay assassinating Lawrence that George Washington gets Mount Vernon.
Right.
So it's something that is believable.
Even though it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but it's believable. I would actually believe that existed, because they do such a good job mixing the real and the fake together that nothing feels outlandish.
Right.
You know, it's not like Lawrence Washington died in Tokyo, Japan by getting crucified. Like, that's outlandish. We look at that and we go, yeah, this didn't happen in real life.
I don't want to play that game.
I know, right? So I don't know. That to me has always been a concern with Yasuke is, well, now you're playing as a real historical character, so you better get the facts correct.
Right.
The stuff that we do know about him, you better get that stuff correct.
Like the fact that it was, you know, and to the debate of whether he was or wasn't a samurai. You know, he received land, supposedly. Right. He received money. Those were things that were sometimes, you know, equated with that kind of position.
Yeah, right.
There were other things equated with that kind of position, though, too. Mm-hmm. And lords essentially could give that kind of thing to anybody they wanted. So, like, there's all these back and forths. There's always, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, like, there was some secondary evidence, at least, to support that he liked women. Whereas I've seen no evidence at all to support anything to the contrary. And so that, to me, is where it becomes odd when, like you said, you know, you're taking something we know for sure about that person and changing it. Just like if they said, we made Yasuke, and they revealed him, and he was a Japanese man with dreadlocks, and they said, like, and they took that achievement of, like, being this, you know, black man who was, at the very least, liked by Nobunaga, and had a position, whether you want to call it he was a page, or whether you want to say, no, he probably became a samurai, whatever you want to believe, it would be odd to be like, look, now he's an Asian guy with dreads. We're not talking about race swapping. We're not talking about any of this stuff. We're talking about people being angry about a CGI trailer and, like, starting a weird culture war thing about it. And I see so many people with, like, 100,000 views with videos that are, like, so outlandishly clickbaity, like, Assassin's Creed Shadows is racist. Why do they hate white people? Literally, I saw that as, like, a title.
Right.
And it's like, well, where were you when, like, they released Revelations? Why weren't you like, why did they hate the people of the Ottoman Empire? Why didn't we play as an Ottoman assassin?
Yeah.
Why did we go there as Ezio? You didn't care then. And I genuinely believe it's because a lot of these people aren't actually fans of this property. They just see something controversial and they're like, oh,
time to make money.
Time to make some money.
Yeah.
And even if you were a fan of it, I'd argue you didn't understand what you were actually playing before then. You know, essentially, like, to not have that type of person be an assassin, that was fine then. But now this isn't okay. And we are even getting this type of assassin. We're getting a Japanese assassin born there.
Like, you have both.
You have Naui.
You know, I think it's also kind of weird because this game is giving you both.
Yeah.
It gives you a warrior character for people like the RPGs, they like Ivor, they like Cassandra, whatever. You're getting that kind of a character.
Right.
But you're also getting more of a character like, I'm not going to say Altair Ezio because I don't know what Naui's like, but you're getting more of an assassin-y kind of a character too. Like Arno, you know, Altair Ezio, these are assassins.
Who isn't good enough
getting
to some
someone,
people.
Yeah, you're getting someone who, from what we've seen in the CGI trailer, is like that, too. I guess I don't understand. And it's not like the female character is also black.
No.
Like, the female character is a native Japanese person.
But I don't think you're going to convince
so
some people.
It's just, it's so weird to me. Like, first of all, why do we have to stoop to the level of just being straight up racist?
We'll kind of throw it in there,
that's just
too.
dumb.
I saw so many people call her Discount Xiao Jun just because they're both Asian women. They're not even from the same country. Like, oh, look, an Asian woman who crouches and goes in the shadows.
They're
must
the
be
same.
Xiao Jun.
Right.
Like,
it's like that makes no sense. Second of all, why are we having this much outrage for a CGI trailer? That you're willing to, like, attack people, borderline ruin people's lives, dox them. I don't know if anyone's doing this, I'm just saying.
where you crucify them in Tokyo.
You're, like, destroy
with James Buchanan
where you're
Barnes.
going to give them the Lawrence Washington treatment in Tokyo.
I like the idea. I like your history. James Buchanan Barnes and his gay lover took Lawrence Washington to Tokyo and crucified him on a cross upside down like St. Peter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that happened in my Assassin's Creed game.
Meanwhile, Doom Guy, Master Chief, and Obama all shook hands and then had an orgy in the streets of Tokyo. Right. Epic. Make the game.
So it's like, I don't get why we're getting all this outrage over a CGI trailer. Like, at the very least, wait for a gameplay trailer.
Yeah, to be mad.
At the very least. Now, I would even argue wait till the game's out.
Yeah, even like if you don't want to buy it.
If the game's out and you watch gameplay of it and you say, I don't think this is for me, fine, fair enough. You don't have to play the game. But, like, we're watching a CGI trailer. How many of these CGI trailers in Assassin's Creed history, 3, 4, whatever, have come out and they've been met with this much outrage?
No.
I think most people see them and they go, wow, this is exciting. And that's what this was supposed to be. It was just supposed to be something that introduced the game. You watch it, you get kind of excited. Maybe you don't get excited, maybe it's not for you, fine. But it was just supposed to be something that was like, hey, look at this fun trailer we made about this game. We're going to show you gameplay later. You know, that's all it was. And yet people are taking this so personally, and all of a sudden everyone becomes like a historical expert.
Who thinks that Assassin's Creed history was always 100%?
Yeah,
like, even you,
exactly.
I know it's credentialist, and you don't usually bring this up. I do, because I feel like people act like, oh, well, Jay, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, you only know stories, you don't know history. It's like, one, I do study history too. I find it fascinating. Not as much as you. But two, even when there's like a legitimate historian who spent thousands of dollars going to college to get a degree in this, who's not offended by this. I feel like that's kind of saying something that, like, it's okay to just chill out for a few minutes.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I just don't understand, like, why we can't have our game where James Buchanan Barnes and his gay lover execute the leader of No, I'm just kidding. Through cock and ball torture. Like,
right, yeah. Oh, we're adding to it now. Cool.
Yeah, it's getting better in the animus.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, why can't we have that?
I just don't understand why we're so mad about it.
Right.
Like, I agree with you. I wanted to just throw out there, unfortunately, though, there's a lot of people that I think you just can't convince.
Right.
Of, like, anything.
They're just angry, and that's what it's going to be.
And they're going to be mad, and, like, if you're not mad, you're, like, a liberal cuck, or you're a conservative cuck, or whatever cuck you are, whatever version of cuck you are today.
Everyone's like a cuck.
Basically, you just want to label someone something and project your cuckdom onto them. Right. That's fine, whatever. But I just think it's very exhausting. But the route people took to criticize this is just so... You've gone so far away from the high road that most people aren't going to take you seriously anyway.
Yeah.
Like, when the first thing you say is, oh, a black guy in Japan, no wonder he's violent. Right, which is literally something I've seen.
I know.
It's like, you've gone so far away from, like, the just moral ground zero to, like, just showing a bias of being angry, and, like, that's actually hateful. That's not like, hey, I wanted to play as the Ghost of Tsushima guy again, why aren't I him here? It's, That was a joke, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Or, well, it was okay when I played as the guy from Neo. Why aren't I him here? Like, it's fine to not prefer it.
Yeah.
I don't care. But the way people went is weird to me. And the reception to the Ezio trailer, where you have Ezio going to, like, the Middle East and then, like, going to, you know, the Ottoman Empire and these different areas, and it's like, oh, cool, he's in a place where he doesn't belong. Yeah, time to bring some Italian justice to this part of the world. It's like, that was fine. But, like, now with this, it's like, mass dislike, I'm angry. Anyone who talks about it is a cuck. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what? There clearly is something going on there if one is okay and the other's not okay. Like, that's not compatible ideology, in my opinion. You're being a hypocrite.
Right.
Alright, so if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. I'm sure you'll have to combat the massive amount of dislikes, but whatever. It gets the video's engagement. My last video was, like, more viewed than any of them in a while because of people hating on it, so fair enough. I appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully you heard it out, and even if you disagree, you're not excited for the game, whatever. Our point is not to shill for the game and say, here's why the game is good. Our point is to, like, even if it comes out as bad, I think our point stands of why are you mad so early?
Right.
Like, that's just the point.
Yeah,
why
at least
are you
wait
mad?
for more.
So we hope you enjoyed the video. If you do want to support our channel, we do have a Fortnite code, which is DJAY123. Ezio is in that game, and there is a pizza emote, which was one of my favorite things to combine with the character. I sometimes try to serve pizza to the people I'm fighting. They don't appreciate it, and they do shoot me. We do appreciate you very much. We also have a store, CosmoBunny.shop, where we have code DJAY123 for 10% off your first purchase of our comic book and manga resin pieces. These are fantastic little transformative pieces of art that we get comic books and manga from stores that can't sell them because they're damaged, they're discounted, sometimes we are given them. We turn them into these transformative resin pieces for your home, like trays, coasters, and more. And we also have handmade beaded jewelry over there that's really fantastic that we hope you'll enjoy. Now, please remember from the critics of Assassin's Creed Shadows, do not travel anywhere you're not natively born to. You don't belong there. Leave it alone. In 100 years or 500 years, somebody might mention that you were there and someone might have an aneurysm. So just don't do it. And as always, everybody, stay shui.